Dr. King, back in March, you were talking about beginning demonstrations in early May in Alabama and perhaps also here in Washington against the Senate filibuster. What has happened to those plans?
Well, these plans are still intact. We may have revised the dates a bit, but we definitely plan to have massive demonstrations in the state of Alabama this summer. We feel that the time has come for a full-scale assault on the system of segregation in Alabama, and certainly the hypocrisy of the governor of that state needs to be exposed, so that we plan to work in several communities in the state of Alabama. In fact, we are now recruiting students by the hundreds and thousands to join what we refer to as our nonviolent army. And they will constitute the persons who will engage in these demonstrations all over the state. We will center the demonstrations around the right to vote, around public accommodations, and all of the external manifestations of segregation in the state.
What difference, Dr. King, will passage or non-passage of the Civil Rights Bill make in all your plans for the summer's demonstrations? I mean, will they go on if it passes, and if it doesn't pass, will it make any difference?
Well, I'm sure we will have demonstrations whether you get a civil rights bill passed or not. Now, I would say that if the bill is passed, it will increase the hope and give the Negro a new faith in the legislative process, and I think it will be possible to keep the demonstrations much more disciplined and nonviolent. On the other hand, if the bill passes, we can see another element present, namely that it will be necessary to enforce it. Passing the bill is simply one step. After it is passed, it must be enforced, and we will have to go into communities all over the South to test compliance. There will be some communities that will comply, and maybe in these communities we won't have to have large-scale demonstrations, but where you have outright resistance and a refusal to comply with the Civil Rights Bill if it passes, we will have to demonstrate in order to get the federal government to take a stand in the area of enforcement.
Dr. King, it's often been said in the past that Negro voters held the balance in many marginal congressional districts. Well, now that Governor Wallace has shown he can get 30 or 35% of the vote in northern states, isn't it likely that the white backlash vote is going to exceed the Negro vote in many districts?
I don't think so. I think this is a temporary development, and I feel that there are so many factors in the Wallace vote that we can't consider this decisive and even impressive. I think you have to consider the fact that a vote for Wallace is often a vote against the person against whom he's running. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is a vote against civil rights. And I think once you get a strong candidate campaigning and running, we will see a different picture altogether. I think the Wallace vote does reveal that prejudice is a national problem and not merely a sectional one. But on the other hand, I don't think it reveals that there is the kind of strong revolt against Negro aspirations that many people in the press are now saying. In fact, a poll just the other day, the Harris poll, revealed that the vast majority of American people are still in favor of the Civil Rights Bill, a 3-1 margin at that point. And I think this represents something, and it tells us that the backlash isn't as great as many people feel.
Dr. King, in light of recent statements of Senator Barry Goldwater and, in some cases, Richard Nixon, do you think there is a real danger of the Republican Party becoming the white man's party in this country?
I think this is a real danger, and I've talked with some Negro Republicans who are very concerned about this. I see trends and developments which will reveal that unless the liberals of the Republican Party take play a much more decisive role in leadership positions, this will become a white man's party. And I think this would be tragic for the Republican Party as well as tragic for the nation.